Talking points for after the election that are useful for us all. I've heard it over the years by the communists. They won't fight. Don't worry. Their attitude will change. They won't fight. And it's a very true thing. We're such nice guys who try to have understanding and empathy, and it doesn't work. When we change the scale, the United States was so much bigger than everybody, and we just assumed that if we were nice, then all the other countries would simply join the gang in the playground, and they didn't do that. They simply used it as an opportunity for the most vicious people in those countries to rise to the top. It's the good kind of guilty, but guilty we are in the very good sense. And that said, we're not getting out of facing people who are incredibly violent, especially when they do it by design. Let's have a review. This is a review. The communists in the 1950s did say they would overthrow the United States right around the early 70s. And there was a profound change in our society. There was an upheaval in our society. The psychologists threw out the idea of original sin. Economics threw out the idea of home economics, and courts threw out the idea of religion and government. You can have anything except religion and government, except those three things that make up religion. Catholicism, actually, straightening up our emotions, being a good citizen, willing the good of another person, and doing it because of Christ's divinity and faith, the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, dotting the letter I. Let me remind myself, there's that bum's rush. We still should have been Yanks, whether or not Christ died and came back on the third day, but that's really not true. And they didn't do that. So one of us committed treason, and it isn't us. That said, we're now hitting the fork in the road. They said in the 70s that they had pushed us into a consumption society, and they did, and now everything's starting to crash in a genuine way. Let's say the words out loud. These elections, which are a few days away, this is before the election, these elections are a joke, so say so. Even such terribly important things as throwing out the Australian balloting system, the whole idea of the good kind of secret ballot, is very important, but it's still a minor thing to the larger issue. Most of the people that are voting in this election really have no right to vote to begin with. They're not even part of a democracy. And that said, our gang, the gang that is for democracy, we got pushed out of society. That American Yank is not part of our society right now. It's on the outside of it. Still, we still think we are. So what do we fight for? I know what I fight for. I fight for God and country. I straighten up my emotions and become a good citizen. I make money by making other people better off, home economics, willing the good of another person, turning into a normal supply and demand curve. And I do it because Christ rose on the third day. I would do it because of God and country. And there we know just what to do. You replace those judges with judges that say only God and country, or the Apostles' Creed, and that represents going through government. And the next phase is to go in society and turn that ladder upside down. The people who are the consumption society, they don't mind giving up a few things. And the guys that go out and build things, like the criminal trial attorney that defends the poor and the oppressed, you push them to the top of the ladder. And then phase 3, there's home economics. Picture a detached house and go out to the side and start with farming and mining, manufacturing, wholesale, retail, and repair, and above that, retirement, education, and recreation. And the doctors and lawyers provide a lattice, and the Catholic priest is what causes it to come into being to begin with. We get started, go to work. This is where guys like Donald Trump would be in their glory, and we have to go behind his back and straighten things up, just so guys like that can go to work. Now let's say the words again, these elections are a joke. Perhaps somebody listening to this can find some famous characters and they can come out and say so. You're just going to have to form a group and go to work. You can start by publicizing the idea that this is all a joke, forget it. Donald Trump's going to be the president, and take it from there. And actually You know the stages. You go behind Donald Trump's back, and you know the stages. We know exactly what's wrong, exactly what to do about it, and how to do it. So let's start forming our own gang.